If you've been studying management accounting, you may have come across this abbreviation before. COGM stands for the cost of goods manufactured, and we'll be discussing this calculation in detail in this video. But before we get there, let's take a look at another smaller calculation. And to do that, let's pretend we have a store that sells pencils. If we start off with 3 pencils in our store, and then we add 2 more pencils throughout the period, how many do we have in total? Yeah, good job. We have 5 pencils in total. Now, let's assume that these are really expensive pencils. Each pencil costs $1. We can start to label these different groups of pencils that we see on the screen. On the far left, we can say that's beginning inventory for $3. Then in the middle, we added purchases throughout the period of $2, which means the cost of goods available for sale in our little store is $5. Now, let's add the passage of time. And during the period, things happen. During the period, customers buy the goods, and at the end of the period, 1 pencil remains. And here's that one lonely pencil sitting over there off to the right. Now, I have a question for you. What is the cost of goods sold for the period? Now, some of you may just be able to glance at this and figure it out intuitively or quite instantly, but let's go through the whole thing. If ending inventory is $1, what is the cost of goods sold? Well, we could take a look at the cost of goods available for sale. It was $5 for 5 pencils, and we know that one of those pencils was left in ending inventory. That means as long as nothing was damaged, spoiled, or stolen, everything else was sold. So 4 pencils were sold at a cost of $1 each. The cost of goods sold is $4. Let's go back to our original question. What is the cost of goods sold for the period? And we could now take a look at this in more of a formulaic sort of way. If we take the cost of goods available for sale at $5, and if we subtract ending inventory of $1, that equals the cost of goods sold, which is $4. This sort of calculation, where we take the beginning amount, we add something that happened during the period, we get a total, and then we subtract what happened at the end of the period, we use that throughout the cost of goods manufactured calculation as well. So let's talk about some good that is manufactured. You know that I like to use the example of a chair. And this chair isn't just magically created. Things have to happen. Direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead all have to come together in order for this chair to be created or to be manufactured. Let's start off with looking at direct materials and how this works into the cost of goods manufactured calculation. Let's put a number on it. Let's say direct materials for this example is $11,000. And just so we can keep track of everything, let's make some notes on the left of the screen. So we've got beginning inventory of $11,000. Now, if we add purchases of direct materials inventory of $73,000, we end up with the cost of direct materials available for use as being a total of $84,000. We can go ahead and combine these things on the right. Now, if we are told that ending inventory, and this is ending direct materials inventory, if that's $8,000, well, we now have what we need to determine how much was used. We just have to take a look at the difference between $84,000 and $8,000. And that would mean direct materials used is $76,000. Now that we know the direct materials, we can move on to direct labor. Let's say direct labor was $9,000 for this period. We also need to add manufacturing overhead. Let's say that that is $20,000 for the same period. And now we could start to add them together. But don't forget, we also have to add the direct materials used. the direct materials used of 76,000 plus the direct labor of 9,000 plus the manufacturing overhead of 20,000 equals the manufacturing costs incurred during the period of $105,000. And now we can look at all of these costs on the right in that way. We can view them all as manufacturing costs incurred during the period of $105,000. But we have to think the entire thing through. At the beginning of the period, there probably was some work in process inventory. In other words, there were probably some goods that they were working on in the prior period that they weren't able to finish. We call that beginning work in process. Let's say that that is $6,000. Work in process is abbreviated as WIP, often called WIP. If we add these amounts together, we get $111,000, and that is called the manufacturing costs to account for. Now, we can subtract the ending work in process, which is $7,000 in our example. The difference between the total manufacturing cost to account for, $111,000, and the ending work in process of $7,000. That difference is the cost of goods manufactured. And that's what we've been trying to calculate. Let's do a quick summary. We started off having to calculate the direct materials used. To that, we add direct labor and manufacturing overhead. This totals the manufacturing costs incurred during the entire period. We have to consider that some of our goods would not have been finished at the end of the prior period. We call that beginning WIP. And that means all of the manufacturing costs that we have to account for, in this case, is $111,000. We subtract what still isn't finished, and what's left over, assuming no spoilage and nothing got damaged, must be what was manufactured. If you'd like, we can link this back to a prior lesson. The cost of goods manufactured ends up getting transferred to finished goods inventory, and our goods stay there until some portion of them are eventually sold, and they become the cost of goods sold. I hope you found this video helpful, and until next time, I will say thank you for watching, and may your journey be joyful.
Yo, it all starts with materials, gotta get it right. Inventory stocked up, shining in the light. To get in with what we got, 11 G's on the shelf. Then we bought 73 more, now we're stacking wealth. But wait, don't forget what's left at the end. 8 G's still there, man, that's what we spend. Subtract it from the pile, now we get the truth. 76 KUs, that's the direct proof. We're breaking it down, step by step, cost of goods manufactured. We're on a quest from materials to labor. Overheads next, counting every dollar, nothing gets missed. Now we're talking about the hands on the grind. Direct labor's next, let me break it in rhyme. 9K on the clock, yeah, they're working real hard. Building up the goods, taking it yard by yard. They sweat and they hustle, making sure it's tight. Every piece in place, everything just right. That's the cost of the crew added to the stack. Now we moving forward, no looking back. We're breaking it down, step by step, cost of goods manufactured. We're on a quest from materials to labor. Overheads next, counting every dollar, nothing gets missed. Next up is overhead, where the mystery lies. Indirect costs, yeah, they creep and they rise. 20K on the books, gotta pay those dues. Utilities, rent, and them factory crew. Can't forget depreciation, it's all in the mix. Every dollar counts, gotta get it fixed. So we tally it up, add it to the whole. Now we got the total, that's the final goal. We're breaking it down, step by step, cost of goods manufactured. We're on a quest from materials to labor. Overheads next, counting every dollar, nothing gets missed. Now we add it all together, here's the big score. 105, but wait, there's more. Beginning WIP, 6 G's in the flow. Add it to the stack, watch that number grow. But don't get too hype, we ain't done yet. 7 G's still in process, don't you forget. Subtract it from the total, now we see the plan. 104 is where we stand. We're breaking it down, step by step, cost of goods manufactured. We're on a quest from materials to labor, overheads next. Counting every dollar, nothing gets missed. So that's how we do it, COGM's the name. Counting every cost, we ain't playing no games. From the start to the end, every step's in line. Now you know the process all in this rhyme. Step by step, cost of goods manufactured. We're on a quest from materials to labor, overheads next. Counting every dollar, nothing gets missed.